Hey guys, how's it going? So today what I want to talk about is a question that I myself had a lot when I was in high school and when I was deciding what I want to do with my life. And I think it's something that a lot of artists think about when they're starting to really enter the professional phase of their life, or, getting out of high school and really starting to explore what they want to do for a career. Now, a lot of us, when I was in high school, I wanted to be an artist, but I was always told that that wasn't really an option, that you wouldn't really be able to make any money, and that the other thing on top of that is that, if you do want to do something creative, your best bet is probably going to be like a graphic designer, because that's a little bit more reasonable. At least that's what I was kind of told. And, get that out of the water. That's totally not true, okay? It is totally possible to be an artist. It's something, if you really want to do it, it's going to take hard work. But, that's the true with any career that you want to be successful at, right? If you want to work at McDonald's, then yeah, it won't take a lot of hard work. But if you want to do something you love, it's going to take some competition and some work to get there. So don't worry about that. But the other thing that I was always concerned with was whether or not I should go to art school. And I always felt like if I wanted to be successful, I had to go to art school. Otherwise, I just wouldn't be able to cut it. No one would take me seriously. I wouldn't be good enough. There's no other possible way I could learn. And after talking to a lot of artists, people that I admired, a lot of them kept telling me the same thing, which started to surprise me and confuse me, which was, don't go to art school. It's not worth it. Don't go. You can learn everything you need to learn online. You can still get jobs. You'll still get hired. You can be completely successful, but don't go to art school. And for me, that was really hard to grasp or tackle, because I was like, well, man, I've always been led to believe this my whole life, that I have to go to college. And if I don't, I just don't understand how I can get there. Well, obviously, here I am, no degree, and I'm doing pretty well. I'm doing what I love, right? I paint, I draw all day pretty much, and it's awesome. And I did go to college for a year and a half before I dropped out, because I realized it wasn't getting me any closer to what I wanted to do for a living, which was art. And so I dropped out, and at first it was terrifying. It was super scary. I didn't really know exactly what I was going to do. I just knew that college wasn't it. So I tried something else. Now, I just want to go over some numbers and some statistics on art school to help you get a perspective of why maybe it's not the best idea. Now, just a disclaimer, I'm not telling anybody what to do with their lives, all right? If I'm not trying to tell you that, stop doing your dream or whatever, okay, whatever your goal is, go for it. It's your life. I just want to give you some information to hopefully maybe help you consider and see what other options might be available. Because if you're like me, your whole life, you were really only told there was one option, and that was college. So let's look at some statistics here. Okay. So the average salaries, we're going to look at the average salaries for certain art fields, and then we're going to look at the average tuition for the top colleges. And so let's see, starting with concept artists, the average base pay is just under $70,000 a year, which is pretty good. That's not bad. So then we have 2D concept artists who make the same. 3D modelers are around $65,000 a year. Digital artists, whatever that means, are around $60,000. Illustrators are around $69,000, and then animators are at the top at $76,000. So you can make a decent living, right? The low end is around $50,000, and the high end is around $92,000. Okay, and these statistics are coming from Glassdoor.com, which tracks different careers and how much people make. So, pretty decent. Okay, it's not like crazy doctor or lawyer status, but you can make a living for yourself and provide for your family and do pretty well. And if on top of that you're either running a YouTube channel or selling prints online, right, going to conventions, you could do pretty well. Now, let's look at some of the top colleges, top art schools' tuition rates, okay? So for 1 year, let's see, we'll start with the cheapest one, Maryland Institute College of Art. These are the top 8 schools, it looks like, art schools. The cheapest one is starting at $32,712 a year. This is insane, and this is just for tuition, okay? We're not talking about any sort of fees on top of that, right? One of them, the Pratt Institute, it's at $35,000, almost $36,000 a year, plus on top of that, another $20,000 a year in fees, okay? That's ridiculous. That's $50,000 a year. That's as much as a law degree, but you're not going to be making quite as much as a lawyer, and you're going to be in a ton of debt, right? The most expensive one is almost $40,000 a year, plus whatever tuition and fees. I mean, assuming it's anything like the Pratt Institute, that's another $20,000 on top of that. We're looking at $60,000 a year for tuition. You're going to be in so much debt. It's going to be so hard to pay off when you're making, I mean, if you're starting out, you'll probably be making around $50,000 a year, and it's going to be really hard to have any sort of freedom or mobility when you're, buried under all of this debt. Now, the other problem is that people who come out of college, a lot of times they have this mindset, this kind of entitled mindset of, I have my degree, I have my job ticket, I have my magic paper, and I'm going to get a job. I'm owed a job. And, that might not be the case, right? Because that's not what studios are looking for. They're not looking for a degree. They're looking for skill and talent. They're looking for you to be able to solve their problems, which may or may not be true if you have a degree, right? Just because you have a degree doesn't necessarily mean you're a good artist. I've seen plenty of people graduate with an expensive art degree, and honestly, they're not anywhere near where they need to be a professional in the industry because they were focusing on just getting their degree instead of really improving their skills. And when they come out, they're just hardcore, blindsided by the real world and the industry because really they don't care about your degree, they care about your skills. And even if you have that really expensive magic paper, but you can't provide what they need, you're not going to get a job, right? So if that happens, then you're stuck with hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. You don't have a job, which means you have to work full-time or part-time or whatever to try and pay off this debt, which doesn't leave you a lot of time to keep improving at your art so you can get the type of job you want. And I know people who this has happened to, and it's pretty devastating. They went to 4 years of school, got a really expensive art degree, and now they're working in a coffee shop with no free time to really branch out and do anything else because they have so much debt that they have to work constantly just to stay afloat. So really, really think about it, okay? The other downside is that a lot of times the people that they have teaching, and not always, I don't want to say this is true for everybody, but a lot of times the people that are teaching either are no longer in the industry or never really were. They might be really good at art, but they've never actually worked in the concept art industry or the movie industry or the video game industry, and so it's hard for them to really give you information that can help you in that career, right? It would be so much better to be able to go online to things like Schoolism, the Gnomon Workshop, SVS Learn. I teach courses online. There's tons of information out there, and learn from some of the best in the world, right? People who work at Pixar, people who work at Stan Winston Studios, stuff like that, and hear what they have to say about it because they're actually working there and they're wildly successful. So if you can choose between paying a couple $100s for online education that you can do whenever you want, you don't have to waste your time with generals and other stuff that is irrelevant to your career, and learn from the best in the world versus paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to take some irrelevant classes with a couple that pertain to your actual career choice from people who may or may not have even worked in the industry and who may or may not actually be successful, it's just, I don't know. For me, it's a no-brainer. For me, it's like, why would I ever pick that? Okay. Now there are some plus sides of the university, though. So I'll be honest. There are some things that might be difficult to achieve outside of it. One of them is getting feedback on your work. When you're going to school, you have a professor who, hopefully, if they're worth their salt, will be giving you critiques and feedback. Now, sometimes professors get this idea in their head that they're, I don't know, like the god of the world or whatever, and I've had professors who they aren't really helping me from like an objective standpoint get better. They're just like, this is what I like, and they basically want all of the art in their class to look like their art, and it's not really helpful. But there's a lot of good ones who will just give you great feedback, and if you're not going to school, it can be difficult to find quality feedback from really great artists to really help you improve. Luckily, there are things out there where you can do that, and if you Schoolism is a great option where you can sign up for their live classes and get feedback from the instructor. And another thing, if you're going to be spending, you have this plan to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on college, take even just a tiny portion of that, $2,000, $3,000, approach one of your most admired artists, your favorite artists, and say, look, I want to become a professional artist. I want to learn the ins and outs. I want to know what it's like. Here's $3,000 that I was going to spend on my college tuition, and instead I'm going to give it to you to apprentice me and teach me how to become a better artist, right? And, maybe it will or won't work. I know a lot of artists that are really, really supportive and would be interested in something like that, but you got to provide value in return, right? Which is why, a lot of times people will just go to their artists that they admire and be like, hey, look at my work, look at my portfolio. And it's kind of annoying because it's like, well, you're not really doing anything for me. I'm really busy. I have a lot of stuff going on, and you just expecting me to take time out of my day to do something for you with nothing in return. But if you can come to them and say, look, I appreciate the value you provide. I appreciate how much time and effort you put into things. I know your time is valuable. I want to pay you to teach me. You'll probably have a lot better results. So there is a workaround for it. It's just not going to be as traditional as going to school. The other benefit of a university is that you are surrounded by other artists, which is helpful, right? It helps you be in a creative mindset and just be around people, get new ideas. But once again, there's some pros and cons to this, right? You are around other artists, but those other artists are students. It would be a lot more valuable if you could be around other artists who are professionals, because that's going to put you in the right mindset to really make a career out of this. The other thing is that sometimes when we get into a situation where we're around a bunch of other students, and I know I had a problem with this, we tend to compare ourselves to people around us. And I know some people say you shouldn't compare yourself to others, and I think there's some truth to that, but I think you have to compare yourselves to others, otherwise you can't form an opinion of yourself without any sort of comparison, right? If you just didn't compare yourself to any other human on the planet, where would your opinion of yourself come from? How would you be good, bad, or anything compared to what, right? But here's one of the problems that it can come up with, is that when you compare yourself to the students around you, you might be really good, you might be great compared to them, but they're not the ones you're competing with. The people you're competing with are going to be the people in the industry who are actually working as artists. And sometimes you can get a little bit too comfortable thinking, oh, well, I'm the best one out of this group of artists that I know. I'm pretty high up there. So, it can start to make you lazy or relax instead of really working to become the best. So make sure that you're not comparing yourself just to the people around you, but the people in the industry that you're going to be working with, because that's who you're competing with. If you're trying to find artists to be around outside of school, right? You don't want to go down that path. A lot of artists, a lot of states and cities have sketch group meetups where artists will get together and meet up. And if you live somewhere pretty rural, then maybe consider moving in order to kind of really pursue this career, because if you live somewhere rural, you're likely planning on moving for college anyways, so I don't see why you wouldn't move for your education just because you're not doing college, right? You can still move to a city where there's going to be a high collection of artists. Just make sure that you're not getting yourself in a situation where it's so overwhelming that you can't afford to live there or pay your bills, right? So, because part of the reason of not going to college is to not be crazy in debt. So, something to think about. So, once again, I don't want anyone to think that I'm telling them how to live their life or what to do. Only you can decide what's best for you, and I don't want to presume that I know more about your life than you do or anything like that, but just consider these things, okay? It's going to be, if you go to a nice art school, it's going to be really, really expensive, okay? We're talking law degree expensive for a job that, if you're lucky, will be making $70,000 a year, and it's going to take you a really long time to pay that off. So like I said, just consider it. And if you're feeling like, well, I agree, Austin, art school is expensive, but I just don't feel like I could do that. I don't feel like I could become successful on my own. I really hope you can learn to just abolish that idea from your head, because it's totally possible. I know a lot of us have been brainwashed our whole lives to just think college, but it's totally possible. It's obtainable. You can do it. You just got to work hard, right? So if that's what you want to do, start today, right? Go online, create a curriculum for yourself, right? Acknowledge what some of your weak spots are or what you really need to focus on. Start there and just start working through and start creating work. And eventually you'll get there. So if you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments below. I've been really busy lately. I haven't had a lot of time to respond to a lot of them, but I am reading all of them, and I'm hoping to get a moment where I can go through and respond to a lot of you guys. Also, if you like this channel, you want to see more of this sort of thing, then please subscribe. I do tutorials and other stuff like that as well. So yeah, I appreciate the support, and I hope you guys have a good one. See ya. Are you looking for even more content on how to become a digital artist? Then check out some of my online courses. Courses are anywhere from 3 to 12 hours long, and they have tons of in-depth content. They cover a range of topics from creature design to light and color, and from character design to digital painting. You'll gain access to a private Facebook group for students only, where you can stay motivated and get feedback on your work. Plus, I provide fully responsive support throughout all of my courses, and I offer a 100% no questions asked, money back guarantee. Normally, my courses range from $1 to $200, but subscribers can take any of them for only $15. And once you buy it, you own it for life. There's no time limits, no subscriptions, anything like that. So, if you want to show your support and become a better artist in the process, then use the link in the description or use the promo code YT discount on any of my courses. Have a good one.